Greetings, we are happy to welcome you on the live broadcast of the breaking news on ALLATRA TV.
According to scientists from the Copernicus Atmosphere Monitoring Service, this year, the ozone hole of the South Pole has reached an area larger than Antarctica, which has never happened before.
Vladimir Leonidovich Sivotkin, doctor of geological and mineralogical sciences, has been studying the relationship between ozone depletion and the deep degassing of the planet for many years. At the conference Global Crisis This Already Affects Everyone, he stated that the reason for the ozone layer destruction is the release of hydrogen from the Earth's core. Earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, and the death of biota are associated with degassing. Increased ozone holes lead to massive exposure of people to ultraviolet light, which reduces immunity.
Watch in this episode. A new natural disaster strikes the United States. On September 13, a powerful hurricane Nicholas struck the coast of the U.S. state of Texas. Wind speeds exceeded 120 km per hour. It is reported that the hurricane has already rendered over 170,000 residents of the state without electricity and led to flooding in several cities. Strong winds toppled trees and tore away the roofs of houses.
A state of emergency has been declared due to a hurricane in the state of Louisiana, where there is still partially no electricity after the devastating Hurricane Ida. It should be noted that Hurricane Nicholas is already the 14th powerful storm in this season in the Atlantic region. It received the status of Category 1 hurricane off the coast of Mexico. Prior to that, it was classified as a storm. An ALLATRA TV reporter from Canada will cover the topic of storms and hurricanes.
Hello, this is an ALLATRA TV reporter from Canada. On the night of September 11, 2021, Hurricane Larry, a Category 1 hurricane, reached the coast of Canadian island of Newfoundland. The storm was accompanied by wind gusts of 130 km per hour and heavy rain. About 60,000 residents were left without electricity. In the city of St. John's, homes and buildings were damaged, hundreds of trees and advertising structures were felled. Parts of highways were closed due to flooding. There was no information on casualties. Earlier on September 7th, a wave of thunderstorms and gale-force winds swept through Wisconsin, USA. The city of Appleton was hit by large hail. Hail sizes were over 10 centimeters in some places, the largest hail ever recorded in Outgamey Country. Fortunately, no one was injured. The large hail was caused by an active invasion of cold air, low freezing, and strong upwelling currents. The hurricane wind felled trees. Because of that, 4,500 people in the city were left without electricity. Also, the interstate highway was closed due to broken wires.
After Canada, the remnants of Hurricane Larry moved to the southeastern Greenland and caused heavy snowfall. The incidences of a hurricane moving this far north across the Atlantic are very rare. According to a new analysis by the Washington Post, nearly 1 in 3 US residents experienced a natural disaster this summer. Hundreds of people have died. Climate change in North America results in severe storms, fires, hurricanes, coastal storms, and floods. Watch the next report of the aftermath of Hurricane Olaf.
On September 9, 2021, Hurricane Olaf struck the Mexican state of Baja California. Areas from Los Boreales to Cabo San Lazaro were affected by the natural disaster. The hurricane transformed into a tropical typhoon, bringing strong winds and torrential rains. Between 250 and 380 millimeters of precipitation fell, exceeding the annual norm and several times the monthly norm for September. Wind speed in the epicenter reached 155 kilometers per hour, with gusts up to 185 kilometers per hour. As a result, trees were fallen and power lines were broken. The highest danger level has been declared in some areas. In the city of La Paz, a transformer substation failed, leaving people without electricity. On September 10th, a devastating landslide occurred in Tlalnepantla de Baz, Mexico State. This has been caused by torrential rains that swept through the region, as well as a 7+ magnitude earthquake. Unfortunately, casualties and missing people have been reported. Tons of boulders have come toppling down off the hillside. Some boulders weighed several tons. From the words of eyewitnesses, sometimes during the rainy season, some boulder falls and hits the street, but never as big as this afternoon. As a result of the collapse, several houses were buried underground. The situation was complicated by the fact that due to the narrow streets, rescue equipment could not get close to the rubble.
During the flood season from June 1st to August 31st in the capital of China, Beijing, the average amount of rainfall was about 70% more than in the same period in previous years, according to the Xinhua news agency. Also, July 2021 in Beijing was the rainiest in the last 70 years. The topic of natural disasters in Asia as well as in other countries will be continued by an ALLATRA TV reporter.
Hello, this is an ALLATRA TV reporter from Indonesia. On September 11, 2021, Super Typhoon Chantu struck the northern island of the Philippines, bringing devastating wind and torrential rains. Chantu, also known in the Philippines as Kiko, was one of the strongest storms of 2021. Wind speed reached 260 km per hour, the equivalent of a Category 5 Atlantic hurricane. Heavy rainfall led to the flooding and landslide. The typhoon left the region without electricity and caused the evacuation of over 11,000 people. The next day, Chantu reached Taiwan. As a result, more than 14,000 homes in the south and east of the country were left without the electricity. 2.5 people were evacuated. All airline flights and transport were suspended. Hundreds of tourists were held hostage by the natural disaster. From September 10 to 13, tropical storm Konson hit the central Vietnam, bringing strong winds and rains. Sadly, there were fatalities. During this period, more than 900 millimeters of rain fell in Quang Ngai province. This figure is equal to the 3 months of rainfall. The flooding has damaged about 800 houses and washed away over 8,000 hectares of rice and other crops. People were forced to leave low-lying areas to escape the rapidly arriving water. More than 100 roofs of houses were blown off or damaged by the high winds. The disaster also affected the province of Guangxi, Kontum, and Xialai. Early on September 9, a mountain slope collapsed in the city of Hangsong, Shanxi Province, China due to the prolonged rains. Unfortunately, there were fatalities. The rocks backfilled and damaged homes blocked the highway and the Yangtze River. Residents were evacuated from the area at risk.
Hello, this is an ALLATRA TV report from Sudan. In early September 2021, there were massive floods in White Nile State, Sudan, after prolonged heavy rains. According to local residents, it took less than 5 minutes for the River Nile to breast its banks and turn to the Serer district into an island in the middle of the sea. More than 15,000 people in 53 villages in the Jabalain area were affected. The Shiribets settlement in the southern part of Juba were in a very difficult situation due to the disaster. In this area, flooding led to collapse of building and loss of the livestock. There was also damage to the agriculture. The population was evacuated. Monsoon rain have been hitting northern Pakistan since September 8. The rain caused flood and landslides. The residents of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province were affected the most. Unfortunately, dozens of the casualties have been reported. Some people were injured, houses were destroyed and damaged. Sadly, more than 100 people have already died since the beginning of the rain season.
On September 14, torrential rains flooded the south of France. In the Gard department, the 2 months amount of rainfall fell within just 6 hours. Also, about 19,000 lightning strikes were recorded. In the city of Nîmes, the first floors of buildings in several blocks were flooded. Highways were also blocked and railroads communication was cut off. The water level of the Rhone River rose by 1.5 meters in just a few minutes. Watch next about natural disasters in the adjacent countries Spain and Italy.
Hello, this is ALLATRA TV reporter from Italy. On September 10, 2021, a devastating tornado struck the Italian island of Pantelleria. Casualties and injuries have been reported. The vortex was so powerful that it tore down the roofs of houses, overturned cars, and destroyed the coastal road. According to a local resident, the situation on the island resembled an apocalypse. Earlier, on September 8, a large forest fire broke out in the south of Spain. It happened in the mountain area near the town of Estepona. Unfortunately, casualties have been reported. About 2,500 people were forced to leave their homes. The fire destroyed vegetation over 7,500 hectares. It was exacerbated by winds, which were constantly changing direction. More than 300 firefighters and aviation equipment were involved in extinguishing the fire. Several roads in the disaster area were blocked. This fire was further exacerbated by the hot weather. It is worth noting that in the history of observations in the territory of Spain, 7 of the 10 hottest years came in the last decade.
On September 11th, torrential rains hit the central and southern parts of Sakhalin. Due to flooding and mud flows, highways and railways were eroded. Mud streams got into the city reservoir, as a result of which the water supply was temporarily cut off. An emergency regime was introduced in the Makarovsky district.
Meanwhile, on September 14th, bad weather came to St. Petersburg. Cyclone Kiyan brought destruction to the city. Powerful wind toppled traffic lights and road signs, uprooted trees. The Neva River overflowed banks, flooding the riverwalks. Road traffic was disrupted. About other cataclysms that have occurred around the world, watch the next report.
On September 12, 2021, heavy rains with thunderstorms and hail hit Maikop, Adygea Republic, Russia. The hail damaged cars and greenhouses. Eyewitnesses state that they have not seen such hail for a long time. Harsh weather conditions were exacerbated by strong gusty winds. Some areas were left without electricity. Meanwhile, after hours of torrential rain, severe flooding occurred in the Nigerian capital of Abuja. Fatalities were reported. The disaster struck areas in the southern part of the city over 160 homes were damaged. Starting September 13, powerful torrential rains hit several parts of the Gujarat state of India. Over 1.5 million people have been affected by the floods in 44 localities. Sadly, there have been fatalities and missing people. Thousands of people have been displaced or evacuated in various areas. Heavy rains also caused deadly mudslides in Rajkot and Namjagar cities. After 516 millimeters of rain fell within 24 hours, the Rajkot district, which is several times the monthly norm, many buildings were destroyed and damaged. Dozens of roads were blocked. On September 14, there was heavy downpour in London, the UK capital. With an average monthly rainfall of about 60 millimeters, the level of precipitation was between 15 and 25 millimeters. In some parts of the city, up to 75 millimeters in just one day. Despite weather warning, people and infrastructure were unprepared for it. Buildings and the subway were affected by water. The roads, tunnels, and road junctions were flooded, as well as the famous Tower Bridge. As a result, these roads were closed to traffic, causing massive traffic jams. The next day, heavy rains in Malaysia triggered severe flooding. In the Sabah state, which was affected the most, thousands of people were evacuated, many buildings were badly flooded, and several major roads became impassable.
Millions of people around the world are increasingly exposed to the destructive power of natural disasters. What people are faced with is staggering. Alekz Londos, a freelance international photojournalist, videographer and reporter, shot a scene from the catastrophic fires in the US, especially for ALLATRA TV.
As you can see, I'm standing in front of two structures. These used to be cabins. I'm approximately 3 to 4 miles away from South Shore Lake Tahoe. Over the last 2 weeks, I've been responding to the Caldor fire that swept across this entire region and has caused an incomprehensible amount of destruction. Not only has it displaced a lot of people through the voluntary and mandatory evacuations, it's also caused great suffering, unimaginable suffering towards all of the sentient beings. This fire is huge. I mean, last I checked, it was over 200,000 acres. Now, I've been responding to forest fires since 2002. It was 2007, near this area, that I covered the Angora fire. That fire destroyed 242 homes and 67 commercial buildings. It was horrific. During that time, when I was 27 years old, responding to that fire, that was like one of the biggest fires in that area. I mean, in that time frame, in that region. I mean, now we're seeing more forest fires go from 0 to 50,000 acres, 80,000 acres within 5 to 7 days. It's just unimaginable. I mean, we would have never thought this would have happened a decade, 2 decades ago, when I first started covering forest fires in 2002. It's just upsetting that scientists predicted we would see more cyclonic activity around the world, and now we are. They predicted that we would see more forest fires, greater forest fires, happening simultaneously, just like hurricanes, not only increasing in velocity and strength and size and duration, but also starting to spiral simultaneously. And we're seeing all these superstorms just like scientists predicted. And they also said, once we started seeing the effects of climate change, it would be too late to stop it. The positive feedback loops would already be spiraling out of control. The exponential positive feedback loops, and it would be too late to stop it. And that's what we're seeing now. This disaster that's burned across this entire region, yes, it's abnormal. Moisture levels should be too high this time of year. Humidity should be higher. I mean, we're in a regional drought. Parts of California, Oregon, Washington, and places around the world are experiencing not only regional droughts, but regional heat waves. We're seeing more fires like this because of those 3 factors. Well, actually, there's 4. Not only is there the regional droughts and the regional heat waves, There's also low humidity, but there's one other factor, and that's the erratic wind speeds and the inconsistent wind patterns. When you have huge numbers of firefighters, personnel, water tender trucks, police and veterinarians and nonprofits and the bulldoze operators and the aircrafts and all of these resources coming into a region to fight a fire, if you're dealing with the regional drought and the low humidity and higher heat or higher temperatures for that specific area or that region and erratic wind conditions, then you're going to see more mega fires like this get out of control. It doesn't matter how many resources you put towards a fire. If there's more wind speed and lower humidity, lower drought, then there's nothing that you can do to stop it. Disasters like this are happening around the world. They're happening more frequently. It's causing more suffering. It's killing more people. I mean, how much more is it going to take? I just don't know what else it's going to take. I mean, how many more homes have to be destroyed? How many more people are going to die? How many more superstorms are going to completely destroy and ravage areas around the world before more people start realizing that this isn't normal? The spread of misinformation has slowed down our potential progress, all the misinformation, and we're not where we need to be as a society. What is my message for humanity? We were so fortunate to be alive on this planet. We had everything that we needed. And because of greed, capitalism, the monetary system, people living outside of their means, buying and owning things they don't need, buying and owning things that don't serve a purpose, wasting resources, wasting food, wasting water, throwing stuff away in the landfills, just being so disrespectful to this earth, not cherishing and valuing what we have on this planet and how fortunate we were to be born on this planet, on this earth, and alive today. It's disgusting how we've destroyed such a huge portion of Earth's biosphere. So I think it's our moral responsibility to clean up the mess that we made before the 6th mass extinction event, or the apocalypse, or end times, whatever you want to call it. Biosphere collapse. It's happening. And we have to do everything that we can to stop it or slow it down so we can fix the damage that we caused and hopefully repair all the damage that we've created. That's what I have to say.
If you have witnessed any climatic anomaly, send your videos to climate@allatra.tv.
Amazonia plays an important role in the planetary ecosystem, but over the past decade, the Amazon rainforest has released nearly 20% more CO2 into the atmosphere than it absorbed. This is the conclusion reached by a team of Brazilian scientists. Their research was published in July 2021 in the journal Nature.
Scientists calculated that forests emit 290 million tons more carbon dioxide per year than they absorb. The reason for this is the intensification of the drought season and massive deforestation. This causes ecosystem stress, more frequent fires, and higher carbon emissions.
указывают на увеличение смертности деревьев и снижение фотосинтеза в результате изменения климата в Амазонии.
Earlier in February, scientist Alexei Goshin also commented on the situation. The decrease in carbon dioxide consumption in these areas of the forest may be due to biological and environmental reasons. This is a cyclical process. Plants are able to convert carbon dioxide into organic matter with the release of oxygen. They deposit, store CO2 in their biomass for their lifetime. But after the tree dies, the carbon dioxide is released back into the atmosphere.
As you can see, the loss of Amazon's ability to capture CO2 depends on a combination of factors and has serious consequences for the ecosystem. For its ecosystem as a whole, and it also affects the lives of everyone on this planet.
I am not even talking about ocean acidification, which has already occurred. What is ocean acidification? Ocean acidification, for you to understand, is a decrease in the ocean pH. And there are a lot of places in the ocean where no one can live at all, meaning ocean animals do not live there anymore.
Dead zones.
These are dead zones. There are already quite a lot of them, and more and more of them are emerging. The acidification of the ocean is increasing. The ocean's temperature is rising. The ocean is no longer able to retain oxygen. And already, in some places, instead of emitting oxygen, the ocean starts emitting CO2. Okay, let's take the forest. CO2, a classic example, is forest. Not many people know that forests, your scientists, my friends, have studied that Brazilian forests emit more CO2 than they absorb.
That's unexpected.
It turned out to be unexpected.
Although there is such a picture in one's head that the main thing, yes.
A picture, Tatiana says, that there is a forest.
A forest feeds us.
And it must absorb carbon dioxide and give us oxygen. But it turned out to be exactly the opposite. Let's take, again, those very relict forests. After all, these trees have been growing for thousands of years in order to form. Those were kind of the main. Let's put it this way, our ocean is our lungs, and those were the alveoli of our lungs. So, by 2015, we had destroyed 50% of these forests. If we calculate this, taking into account the progression of our consumption, again, your scientists say that by 2030, a maximum of 10% will be left, if there are any forests left at all. While everything else, what is planted somewhere, something else, yes, it is fine, but it is incomparable with natural relict forests. How much is the taiga being destroyed today? Plus fires. How many forests are burnt out?
Those very acid rains.
Then acid rains and everything else is already emerging. Just take a realistic view of what's going on. Unfortunately, there is no. That very Google shows a satellite map of our planet with a several years delay. If it showed it live, we would see how everything is changing, how much we are destroying our planet.
We are all at a tipping point in the development of society right now. We can solve ecological, climatic and other crises only by global unification of humanity.
Why is this unification possible now? Because thanks to technology, all people can easily exchange information from different places on the planet and find solutions to any problems together.
Unite on one platform and tell the truth to the whole world.
On the threshold of a system crisis, in the face of planetary catastrophes, the largest unification of people for the entire known history of mankind, organized by people from 180 countries around the world, with translation into 72 languages by volunteers on the live broadcast. 1,000 rebroadcasts on the streaming platforms around the world. millions of viewers all over the planet. International conference. The global crisis already affects everyone. On the ALLATRA platform. During the 12-hour live broadcast, 72 speakers spoke. Leading scholars, world-renowned opinion leaders, international activists and artists, representatives of state governments. We raised the most acute topics of modern society. What does the development of artificial intelligence lead to? What is the real scale of the environmental crisis? What is not talked about in any climate forum about the causes of natural disasters that do not depend on human activity? How we are destroying the planet's resources and its biosystem. What happens to the Earth's core? What are the conditions of climate refugees? How humanity can unite and build a creative society in which the main value is life. This event turns the view of the world upside down, because finally the truth sounds from the people. And this is just the beginning. We invite you to the conference on December 4th, 2021, The Global Crisis, Time for the Truth.
The consequences of planetary crises affect all people on the planet in one way or another. That's why we have to act together. We can still change everything. It's time for global unification. Creative society means the creation of conditions for a decent and happy life for everyone.
You can learn more about the Creative Society project on ALLATRAUnites.com website. Thank you for being with us today, and see you soon on ALLATRA TV.